Hello world, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show.
The United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. It is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. It's constructed of non-governmental organizations, corporations, and government in order to dictate and regulate what it is that happens around the world. Regionalization is the stepping stone to globalization, and globalization is the standardization of all systems. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. The principles are public-private partnerships, which is fascism. And this is how it's implemented on the ground, is through this joining together between corporations, non-governmental organizations, and governments in order to cut out the actual individual, your voter, and instead to take that to a level where we literally cannot penetrate. This is a corporatocracy. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world while we are moving towards the end game. We are not there. And this is the opportunity that all of us have now to stand up, to speak out. We are free, and we need to continue to be free. And I do believe that we will win, but we have to become aware that there is a fight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so good to be with all of you today. It is Wednesday, the epicenter of yet another very busy broadcast week. Huge betrayal yesterday. We knew this was coming here on the Shannon Joy Show. I have been preparing you all for this for 18 months, but they have finally laid it bare. Donald Trump partnering up with Albert Bourla, the head of Pfizer, who rolled out the poison bioweapon, the mRNA shot, which debilitated and harmed millions of Americans and killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Now a $70 billion partnership with Donald Trump, the United States government, and Pfizer so that they can create their universal mRNA technology right here in the United States of America. Absolutely devastating. That was Rosa Koire. For those of you who might not have recognized her voice, that video, that speech that she gave was almost 15 years ago. Rosa Koire has passed on, but she was one of the originals to stand up and speak out about Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the public-private partnerships, the fascism, the infrastructure that was being built across the globe. She knew what was happening. She was a leftist. Well, she began as a leftist. She was a Democrat out of the state of California, and she began her fight at the local level. I believe it was Fresno, California, or it was a suburb of California, but that's how long they had been preparing this. And isn't her voice haunting? So prescient, understanding what we are facing today. She nailed it, along with a few others, people like Patrick Wood, Technocracy, Catherine Austin Fitts. So many warriors out there who are speaking the truth, but so many Americans, particularly on the right, are so ingrained into the two-party political system, that fake system. So many conservatives and constitutionalists and Republicans believe that Donald Trump is somehow going to save them from the infrastructure he built in his first term, from the lockdowns he created in 2020, from the bioweapon that he funded through Operation Warp Speed. This is why I told you 18 months ago, you cannot elect the guy who did it to you in the first place, because we are teaching him that we are slaves. And now here we are, very predictably. And you guys see the headline today. Thank you for all of you who are with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. Trojan horse Trump. He whores himself out yet again to Pfizer with a $70 billion deal to warp speed mRNA. We're going to have Sasha Latypova with us at the bottom of the hour with some of her thoughts on this absolutely stunning betrayal. Also, Trump RX, a deal right in front of our faces, crony corporatism with Pfizer, naming rights for Pfizer for their platform for telehealth and the distribution of pharmaceuticals via the internet. Trump is engaging now. It looks like a naming deal. And if you look at some of Trump's previous deals for naming rights, he could be pulling in almost $500 million in the first year for Trump Inc. with the naming rights, which is just a complete bastardization of our supposedly free market capitalistic system. It's crony corporism. It's market manipulation. It's a rigged game. He's picking winners and losers, and it's basically cheating. But the Republican Party, completely anesthetized, completely docile, flaccid, impotent, unable to do anything because, well, they're listening to Q and the Republican Party and influencers on the right and people like Sean Hannity. And all of the people paid to run cover for this administration, which is actually a Trojan horse for the leftists. He's never been on our side, not since he came down the escalator. And there was one girl who has been telling you the same story for the past 12 years, and that's me. Independent, not left, not right, not Republican, not Democrat, just white-knuckled on this roller coaster along with all of you trying to make sense of the madness and actually survive. Protect my children, protect my family, and actually fight for something, some semblance of liberty for the next 50 years for my kids. That's what we're going for. And they're going for all the marbles. You saw with that Rosa Corey video. They want everything, every piece of land, every body of water, every human body, every natural resource, everything to be tallied and corralled into a global system that they control. We have nothing, we own nothing, and we're happy, says Klaus Schwab. Well, Trump is right in on all of that. And I just can't believe people can't see it. The betrayal, it's right in our faces. It's absolutely stunning. I feel like I'm in college again. And it's, I'm trying to advise my girlfriend who is in a relationship with a deadbeat, abusive loser who lies to her, cheats on her, manipulates her on a regular basis, and she always thinks he's going to change, and she just goes back to that relationship over and over and over. And I'm like, girl, you've got to pull yourself out, right? It's like an entire portion of this country is locked in a mass formation, a cult formation around Donald Trump, who is a clear and obvious predator. He's always been a liar, a cheater, a betrayer, a predator. He laughs at you. He's going to take what he can. He will lie to your face. It doesn't even faze him. Yet so many people continue to be standard bearers for this abusive tyrant. And that's why he does this with Albert Bourla. People are like, oh, well, he's trying to hide this. No, this is blatant. This is in your face. He is putting you through a humiliation ritual. It's a control tactic. a control technique. He wants you to eat it. He wants you to know that he has complete control and he could shoot you in the face on Fifth Avenue and you would still vote for him. That's the level of control these narcissistic, malignant sociopaths want to have. And so many of them are in positions of power. Now, does Trump run everything? No. We know that there are dark cabals behind every president in these Western democracies. We know that Trump is not the boss. But with the power that he does have, he will shove your face in it every single day. And that's what he did yesterday with Albert Bourla. That's what he did, announcing blatantly right in your face, pay to play, market manipulation, crony capitalism, naming rights for Trump RX in collaboration with pharma. He's mocking you. I can't believe that anyone with any semblance of dignity on the right, as a conservative or a Christian or even MAGA, would fall for this. You should be embarrassed. Outrageous. And MAHA is officially dead. By the way, if Bobby Kennedy Jr. does not get a pass on this just because he was standing in the background with like a horrified expression on his face, right? He has a lot of power over at HHS that he is not wielding. And so we have to make sure that we keep an eye on him as well. But no, this betrayal is absolutely stunning. There's no sugarcoating it. MAGA is dead. MAHA is dead. This is in your face. The question is, when are people going to wake the F up? That's the only question I have. This is what he said yesterday. I was honored to have Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer. He's done a fantastic job with COVID. He did a fantastic job with a lot of things. He's a leader, said Donald Trump. And Pfizer is right at the top. And that is, as he announces, a new collaboration with the pharmaceutical corporation that was responsible for the death and destruction of millions of Americans. I tweeted this to Donald the Betrayer yesterday. And I was happy to see David Icke retweeted it. And I believe Health Ranger Mike Adams retweeted this. Because I'm just over it. I tweeted this out at Trump. Your black eyes match your black heart, Donald Trump. You are a predator and are complicit in mass murder of millions with Operation Warp Speed and the COVID bioweapons, which are the COVID shots. You are no better than Joe Biden, and you both should be arrested and tried for crimes against humanity. Shame on you and shame on us, America, for being such gullible chumps and re-electing the guy who did this to us in the first place. That was a dumb move. Yet we do it over and over and over. Char Light, welcome to the live chat. Shannon, you're so right. It has been a plan for 12 years. Warp Speed was a messaging to his cohorts that we are on track once he got in again. He is who he always has been, a con man. And we knew that 12 years ago when he came down that golden escalator and announced his run for the presidency. And let me tell you, we've lost a lot of opportunities here at the Shannon Joy Show for telling the truth about Donald Trump. But I'm glad that we persevered. I'm glad that I persevered through it and continued to commit to the truth because we are being proven right time and time again. Sojourner, welcome to the live chat. So glad to see you as well. Sleeping Giant 111, great to see you on this live chat. We love the Rumble live chat. Welcome everyone. The smartest, kindest, most helpful, most brilliant live chat in all of Rumble. You guys look amazing today. The Shannon Joy Show, as you know, independent, not left, not right, just the truth, straight up, no chaser, every single day. And as I mentioned, we're just trying to hold on along with all of you and figure out what the hell is going on because they just lie to us, ad nauseum, over and over and over. We're live here on Rumble. We're live on Twitter. We're on Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. Huge welcome to the Died Suddenly platform. The Shannon Joy Show now platformed on Twitter every day via Died Suddenly. Also on my Twitter account as well. Facebook, Substack, and every podcast platform you can ever imagine. The Shannon Joy Show, amazingly, this tiny little engine that could, just me and our production, people, and a few other helpers, reaching upwards over 1.5 million views every single month, between 3 and 5 million impressions through our social media accounts. Absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful for all of you who help us to achieve this. So few independent truth tellers out there today, and we will try to be a good steward of your time, your treasure, and also your viewership. I'm Garth Hilton, great to see you. Bill Benz, great to see you as well. In fact, Bill Benz on the live chat in Rumble, one of the original listeners of the Shannon Joy Show when we launched this show 12 years ago, and got in lots of trouble, kicking lots of hornet's nests because, well, just never bought the Donald Trump thing. MAV 2022, Trump still supports the jabs, clearly. Oh, wait, now, no, he's pivoting to Trumpity RX. Well, we told you. Now, none of you are surprised. If you are regular viewers or listeners of the Shannon Joy Show, none of you are surprised about this at all, because I have been preparing you for this utter betrayal for many, many months, many, many years. But particularly a month ago, the op-ed from Jay Bhattacharya, he's the head of NH, appointed by Bobby Kennedy Jr., who is the head of HHS. And Jay Bhattacharya told us just 4 weeks ago in an op-ed in WAPO, Washington Post, and he said this, there was nothing wrong with Operation Warp Speed. It was a huge success. Trump should get a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed. And oh, hey, by the way, there's nothing really wrong with the COVID shots either. The problem was with Biden, his administration, and Anthony Fauci not establishing trust with the people, right? So there wasn't a problem with the jab. It was a problem with you. You didn't trust the jab. And so now what they're doing is they're embarking on another Operation Warp Speed to take us off the original vaccine platforms and move us to a new universal vaccine platform using mRNA technology. Bhattacharya laid that out very clearly, and what you saw yesterday was the full culmination. There will be no reckoning. There will be no acknowledgement of the vaccine injured and dead. They will gaslight you and continue to gaslight you and laugh in your face. And they will do it over and over and over until we say no. Yes, my statements are slightly emotional, right? But you know what? We should be angry. We should be angry. They are harming our children. They are affecting fertility. They are killing people with these shots. And not only are they not removing pharmaceutical liability protection or taking the mRNA shots off the market or giving people informed consent about the shot, or even acknowledging those who have been injured or devastated physically by these vaccines. They're not doing any of that. They're not even ending the emergency declaration that was used to lock down the country in the first place and create the bioweapon. No, they are tripling down on that and expanding it. They're going to Operation Warp Speed new technologies, and they're going to focus them on children and preventing cancer in children, which means they will be experimenting on children. That was another announcement in that godforsaking, horrifying, ghoulish press conference, that dumpster fire that we witnessed yesterday. They're going to expand in Operation Warp Speed research into cancer cures using mRNA. That means they will be experimenting on children, likely horrifying experiments on children, because that's what they did when they Operation Warp Speeded the original COVID vaccines. In fact, they paid mothers $1,000 per baby to inject their children with the experimental COVID shots. And they ramped that up in 50 research hospitals across the nation in the dark days of 2020. Disgusting, horrifying, ghoulish, monstrous people. There is no way to sugarcoat this. And I don't think that we should be diplomatic when acknowledging how bad these people are. The Pfizer shot alone is responsible for 470,000 excess deaths not to mention the millions of people who have had debilitating injuries and fertility problems reported. And this was the conclusion of the MIT study that was cited by Dr. Joe Latypova as the justification for pulling the mRNA shots in the state of Florida. Yet this administration under Trump and Bobby Kennedy Jr. are going in the opposite direction. I asked some of my listeners and my viewers on social media how they felt about this, because you should feel angry. You should feel infuriated. You should be outraged. There should be no justification. There should be no sugarcoating this. There should be no, well, wondering if he's playing 12-dimensional chess or trusting the plan. You should be raging against this, and we should be withholding our consent for the administration of Donald Trump and also for HHS, because it's only going to get worse. We have Sasha Latypova, who has joined us in the Joy Virtual Studio, who we're going to go to in just a moment. But I want to read, I have screenshotted so many of you, those of you who have had debilitating injuries, who have lost loved ones, whose children are dead because you trusted the government, you trusted the plan, you trusted Trump and Health and Human Services and got the shots. This is from Shell on Twitter, and she's been a longtime follower, and I follow her. And I'm going to read some of these throughout the program today, because this is horrifying. We cannot allow them to normalize the death and destruction that they are inflicting upon us and just hope for some kind of crumb in the future that they drop, some kind of acknowledgement. They haven't acknowledged anyone who has been injured by these vaccines or the dead. These people are monsters. They're monsters, and they have blood on their hands. This is what Shell said. It's been 1,724 days since I made the biggest mistake of my life and took the Pfizer vaccine. My nightmare began. Chronic pain, disability, nothing but disappointment from my government, the Biden administration at that time. I have no trust, no faith in them. You lose your family, your friends, your home, most of all your health. Once having a good lifestyle, the government that gave you a safe and effective vaccine, which has shown not to be, now the government wants us to live off the government, either in Section 8 housing vouchers, EBT cards, or whatever the food stamps are, etc. How much more can we take? 1,724 days of making spike, and I'm not just talking about antibodies. It's in my exosomes. Monthly infusions of IVIG up to $2,000 in prescription medications, compound pharmacy supplements along with IV treatment, which is another $3,000 a month. To be on a cancer protocol on top of all of it, with the long list of the diagnosis I already have. I was healthy, ran 3 to 6 miles, worked out, CrossFit, martial arts, Spartan races. To be disabled, that's a lot to swallow. How much more are we going to take? How much more gaslighting, torment, and torture are we going to allow this administration to inflict upon us? That is the question. Shell, we are praying for you. And I know that your plight is the same as hundreds of thousands across the United States of America. And those who have not been debilitated, who have lost loved ones, whose children are in the ground, whose loved ones are dead within days or hours of taking the Pfizer COVID vaccine. Now Pfizer being rewarded to the tune of $70 billion, and Trump cashing in with the naming rights of Trump RX. Rage against this, guys. Rage against this. Pull yourself out of the two-party political system and begin to get ready to fight back through peaceful noncompliance, civil disobedience, local organization, and refusal to comply. Get ready to withdraw your consent and say no, because they will continue to abuse us as long as we allow ourselves to be abused. It's time it ends. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be bringing Sasha Latypova. She's been with us since the very beginning. one of the clearest voices, a truth teller. Her Substack is breaking down the disgusting collaboration, the naming rights that Trump is going to cash in on with Trump RX, and a deal that it appears he made with Pfizer. We're going to look at the Trump naming rights deals and how that works, and also get Sasha's opinion on what has happened. By the way, we also have the great Mary Talley Bowden. She will be joining us at 1 p.m. We're going to get her thoughts on this disaster. And also, because it's Wednesday, as you know, on call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, her live show here today. She's going to be talking to Warner Mendenhall. She's going to be talking to Brooke Jackson. She is the woman who sued Pfizer for fraudulent clinical trials that she witnessed in the dark days of 2020 in the Operation Warp Speed rollout. Amazing blockbuster group of guests for Mary Talley Bowden today. That's coming up in just about a little over an hour. So we have a packed, booked show for you today. I'm going to try to get to as many of you as I can on the live chat. I do see a lot of comments, and we will certainly try to get to you guys as much as we possibly can. So we're going to go to break, but first I do want to talk about one of our amazing new sponsors. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of a company. It is called Rocket Dollar, and I've been working with Henry Yoshida for the past month. We've had 4 or 5 meetings. This company is unbelievable. It's putting investing in your own hands through a self-directed IRA. It's very similar than some of those self-directed IRAs you've seen regarding precious metals, gold and silver, but this one allows you, amazingly, I just love this, it allows you to invest in real estate, in private equity, in private investments, in international investments. It allows you to take a portion of your retirement and use your expertise, your knowledge of what's going on in your own community to take charge of your accounts. It is just an amazing company, and I cannot wait to introduce you guys to Henry Yoshida. He's going to be with us next Thursday in the Joy Virtual Studio. As things get a little bit crazy with the economy, now is the time for you. I mean, I'll never forget Catherine Austin Fitz when we hosted her here in Rochester, New York. She was talking about, 401ks and government and, retirement plans. And she said, I will never, ever, ever partner with the federal government ever again, especially for my retirement. And you don't have to. So many of the 401ks and IRA plans out there are, you basically institutionalized. And so with Rocket Dollar, who's a new sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, you can use a self-directed IRA and invest in a variety of alternate assets, including real estate, which is unbelievable, all cash, right? Because you can draw into your retirement, private equity, startups, cryptocurrencies if you want, and also precious metals. So there are so many options here. We're going to learn all about it. You guys are going to love Henry Yoshida. You're going to meet him next week. But right now you can go to rocketdollar.com/ShannonJoy. That is rocketdollar.com/ShannonJoy to learn more, and to also grab that 1-800 number so you can call them and learn about how you can now take control of your retirement through a very safe opportunity to open up an individual IRA. So that is pretty huge. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our friends over at Rocket Dollar. We're going to learn so much from them. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Sasha Latypova right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Keep it tuned right here. We'll be back. Another amazing sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon. I don't know if you guys have seen the headlines. There has been so much in terms of studies regarding nitric oxide and in terms of cardiovascular health. right now, like, we're dealing with the turbo cancers. There's so many health impacts from the rollout of the bioweapons. The bioweapons, the mRNA shots are still in the market. Pharmaceutical corporations are still not liable, and people are still getting sick and getting poisoned. So it's manifesting in a lot of ways, but we know one of the very first ways that we saw the injury manifest was through myocarditis, pericarditis, and heart conditions. And this was something that Dr. Peter McCullough was talking about very, very early on. It was also something that was very evident in the preclinical trials that we saw, and even the animal trials that were conducted on mRNA technologies, 5, 6, 7 years before the rollout of the COVID shots. So in the terms of cardiovascular impact, for those of you who have taken the vaccines or believe that you may have had COVID and that impacted you, there's a lot out right now about nitric oxide and your cardiovascular health. And here are just a few. There's a new study from the University of Exeter. It found that drinking nitrate-rich beetroot juice lowered blood pressure in older adults. And the effect was attributed to reshaping what they call the oral microbiome, which led to more efficient conversion of dietary nitrates into nitric oxide, a molecule that helps to relax and widen your blood vessels. So this makes it easier for your blood to flow through your entire system. And as we know, that blood flow helps to bring oxygen, critical amounts of oxygen, to all of your organs, your lungs, your brain, your heart, you name it, right? And another research study in March of 2025, there was an article in Men's Health that reaffirmed nitric oxide's role in improving cardiovascular health by promoting what is called vasodilation, which increases blood flow and lowers blood pressure. So it is critical that your blood is flowing. And this product, Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon, is one that is frankly amazing. It's a daily supplement and patented formula that works by boosting your body's nitric oxide levels by up to, get this, 230%. It opens your arteries up 62% to improve blood flow throughout your body. So this means you're getting more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, your heart, and your muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. Yes, it's also anti-aging, which you guys know, I'm always a sucker for the anti-aging as I get older and older. So it has S7 botanical complex and nitrosazine, which helps to boost nitric oxide production. It also has trans resveratrol to support healthy blood flow, and bioperine, so your body actually absorbs it, unlike most of the off-the-shelf stuff that barely even moves the needle. So right now, you can get 25% off plus free shipping plus a money-back guarantee by going to bloodflow7.com/Shannon. That is bloodflow7.com/Shannon. There is no risk. You can send back the empty bottles if you don't like it. You'll get the 25% off and also the free shipping. But if you or a loved one, your spouse, your mom, your dad, your kids, if they have been suffering from any type of cardiovascular impact from the COVID shots or COVID-19 itself, this is something that you guys are going to want to check out. So again, bloodflow7.com/Shannon. That is bloodflow7.com/Shannon. Thank you to our friends over at Juvenon for sponsoring the show. Joy show. In just a moment, we're going to be bringing in the Sasha Latypova. DG8 is on the live chat. I'm keeping an eye on the live chat. Great comment. Shannon, Trump is the perfect person to bring in the New World Order. His base always excuses him, has excuses and defaults to you must be a Kamala supporter, and his base would normally fight this. And that's the truth. It's the perfect Trojan horse. If Biden tried what Trump is doing, everyone would be freaking out. Everyone on the right would be losing their minds. If they were deploying military into towns and villages and cities across the country, everyone on the right would be freaking out. If Biden was issuing hundreds of executive orders and emergency declarations and partnering up with Albert Bourla of Pfizer and the techno fascists, on Wall Street, if Biden had a sit-down dinner with Mark Zuckerberg on one side and Bill Gates on the other side, they would all be losing their minds. They would be, they would be going bananas, right? The sky would be falling, Chicken Little. But because it's Trump, right, he's the perfect Trojan horse, and he always gets a pass. We've got to stop this thinking. And Sasha Latypova is one of the women out there who is very clear thinking and has been clear thinking on these topics since the very beginning, one of the original truth tellers. Due Diligence and Art is her Substack, and she recently launched a piece about the Donald Trump deal with Pfizer, the naming rights, Trump RX. If you look at some of the previous Trump deals for naming rights, which she did, and we were to gain access to the nature of the deal that they made, which we don't know yet, they could pull in almost $500 million in the first year for Trump Inc. Sasha Latypova, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show on this very, very sad and horrifying day of utter betrayal by this administration and Robert Kennedy Jr., by the way. Everyone is giving him a pass because he's in the corner, like, looking miserable. But I'm like, why don't you do something, Bobby? Instead of looking, standing there looking like you have a sour face. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. How are you doing, Sasha?
Hi, Shannon. Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing great.
Absolutely. Despite everything.
Despite, yeah.
What do you make of this? Let's get your thoughts first on this unholy alliance between Donald Trump, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Macri, who else was up there with him? A few others.
Well,
aligning
Bourla,
with Pfizer. Yeah, Bourla. What do you make of it?
Well, so yes, exactly. It is a kind of a unholy matrimony that happened because a name change occurred. So here we have about a year ago, I noticed that, and I actually mentioned in one of my articles that about a year ago, in April, May of 24, it was reported that Pfizer was planning to launch Pfizer for All. So they took out a trademark, Pfizer for All, and they were planning to launch a website for sort of retail pharmacy, direct to consumer, with capability of searching drugs and ordering and getting discounts and directly from Pfizer. And so, so that was reported. And now we have Pfizer entering into this unholy matrimony with Trump and changes the name. So Albert Bourla married Donald Trump and took his name. So here we go. Instead of Pfizer for All,
ugly baby. Horrifyingly ugly baby.
It's going to be very genetically modified, very ugly baby. So and now we have so now it's, instead of Pfizer for All, it's Trump RX all of a sudden, and this is being paraded as, it's just a government basically forcing Pfizer to give discounts to Medicaid. This is being advertised as a good thing for consumers. It's not, because Medicaid patients don't pay for their drugs. And then it's also part of the deal where Pfizer is pledging to invest $70 billion into the U.S. Economy, presumably, which means that they will build numerous manufacturing facilities around different states and thus control those states for the pharma military complex. But also, they are now being forced to license Trump's name, obviously. And that part of the deal is non-government. So we can't even FOIA it because these are two private corporations dealing between themselves. So it's Trump Organization and Pfizer. And this is a private deal that they entered. So I don't have access to that deal, but I do have access to, maybe Pfizer will have to report it as material in their SEC filings. So that remains to be seen in the future. But what I can tell from previous Pfizer arrangements like this, and he licensed his name to numerous locations, to various hotels in in the US, in Canada, in other locations, in Turkey. He licensed his name to Trump Towers, different hotels, different facilities, casinos, golf courses. There is Trump vodka, there are Trump steaks. There are various merchandising items that they are selling continuously, Trump coins, all that. So if something is named Trump and sold commercially, it means the name is licensed. And there's no possibility in the universe where this Trump RX deal doesn't have that licensing, because if
Right.
they don't, then all those other people that are paying Trump organization for licensing his name can contest and nullify their deals.
Right.
That's how
Right.
it works.
Absolutely. And tell us about this lucrative deal, Trump cashing in now. I mean, this is such a bastardization of free market capitalism. I mean, this is the definition. I mean, it's right in our faces, crony capitalism, fascism, socialism, the merging of the state and corporate entities. And they're not even trying to hide it. I mean, they're just blatantly doing it right in front of our faces. How lucrative could this deal be for the Trump administration, or not the Trump administration, for the Trump family, the Trump name, the Trump
Trump,
corporation?
Trump family. Yeah,
Yeah.
so based on the previous deals, it looks like their typical terms are something like 3 to 5% of the wholesale revenue. So they're
Okay.
skimming off the top, and and then also various other terms such as upfront fees for signing, which are anywhere from 5 million to 20 million. The
Mhm.
so the 3 to 5% royalty, and then there are different terms like how long this lasts, usually 10 years, and various controls that Trump organization can then enforce onto the brand, onto whoever is running this commercial part of it. So now they're further controlling Pfizer, even further merging with Pfizer
Yeah.
through
Right.
this method, right? To control the branding of this website.
Unbelievable. The headline, and you can find all of this information on Sasha Latypova's Substack. It is Due Diligent Art. And we are looking at anywhere between 75 million and 500 million in royalties per
Hmm.
year, which
Yes.
is, and this is what you had to say in the Substack. Overall, I mean, I love this. Well, let's start here. It, so wouldn't Trump then, as president of the United States of America, with great power, wielding authority over all of the various branches, all of the various bureaucracies, the ability to write executive orders, declare emergencies, push the funding bills and so forth, lean on legislators to carve out funding for this corporation or that corporation? Aren't there just about a million ways that Donald Trump can rig the game? Like, he's now
Hmm.
invested in a corporation. He's branded with Pfizer that is going to distribute pharmaceutical products to people across the country. Doesn't that present? I know it's kind of a dumb question. It seems so obvious, but doesn't that present a conflict of interest, Sasha Latypova?
Yeah, it's actually it's a huge, well,
Weaponizing power. Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
not just a conflict of interest, it's plainly illegal. Actually, Constitution forbids this. There's a moments clause in the Constitution, as far as I remember, that explicitly forbids this behavior. He can't, as yeah, he has enormous power as the president of the United States, and to shake down corporations like this. And so that those legal provisions exist to prevent this from happening. And now we see it blatantly in our faces in broad daylight. They just say, screw the Constitution, we're just going to do whatever and enrich ourselves. And this behavior is not new to me. This is exactly how all those Soviet oligarchs, Communist Party oligarchs, and now Russia oligarchs, Ukraine oligarchs, and political figures, that's exactly how they behave. So I see it as, I've seen this before numerous times. So it's very obvious to me what's going on, and I just try to wake as many people up as possible to look what's happening here. We have, yes, the fascism is the definition of fascism, is merger of the state and the large corporate and military complex, and them, profiteering of each other's and using the power of the state to provide themselves full liability immunity. And that's exactly what's going on here. So we have to be really vocal and call this BS out. And yes, I agree with you. MAHA is completely destroyed by this just by even standing behind him. No matter what expression was on your face, you guys were standing behind him on this, while they were like prancing around and hugging and kissing each other with Albert Bourla.
Mm.
And and so is MAGA. It's completely, the trust is destroyed, and everyone should be calling them on this very vocally.
Yeah, I think this should be happening very quickly. Is there any type of recourse, let's say another corporation, another company that is in the business of providing telehealth, telemedicine, pharmaceutical products, shipping pharmaceutical products to consumers or constituents? Do they have any way to access the nature of this deal, what is in this deal, and then begin to fight this legally? Because I mean, they could put out, I mean, this is such a conflict of interest. I can't imagine that people aren't looking at this deal and saying, we need to file lawsuits, we need to file FOIA requests, we need to figure out what's going on here. But do you think that
Yeah.
can happen?
Well, I would like to have to somebody, first of all, in Congress to bring this up and request
Okay.
an investigation into this. I mean, clearly, this needs to be investigated. This is completely wrong. And then, yes, somebody on the commercial side, on the private sector side, well, people who are potentially would be adversarial to this are current pharmacy distributors, because this is cutting them out as a middleman. And
Right.
I'm not like in love with any of the parts of healthcare sector, but this is kind of explaining the dynamics. So Pfizer is so desperate because their revenues are falling, their stock price is falling, and so that's why they were going to go direct in the first place and cut out the middlemen. I'm not sure how they were going to handle that because they're fighting with their own customers too this way.
Right.
But that's what should happen. If somebody in the commercial sector is willing to challenge this, they should try to challenge this. Why? And what is the reason to call it Trump RX in the first place? I don't understand the branding of this at
I
all.
think it's a conditioning exercise and part of the
Uh-huh.
humiliation ritual. I think
It
it
is.
is a flex. It's saying this is the way things are going to be moving forward. You have no power. Yeah, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to cheat. We're going to put our thumb on the scale. We're going to rig the game. We're going to screw you to your face, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what I see from Trump, from a personality standpoint, and the way that he has done deals for the entirety
Mm-hmm.
of his career, the way that he has screwed his partners, the way that he has humiliated his business partners, people he has dealt with over the years. That's just the way he operates as a malignant, narcissistic sociopath, in my opinion.
Right.
And so,
And
this,
yeah, he is establishing a cult of personality, which is also a hallmark of all the totalitarian societies. And I grew up. My home address was Lenin Street. Okay, and there
mhm,
were Lenin streets in every town, village, any human settlement in the throughout the Soviet Union had a Lenin Street, and a bunch of
well,
buildings called Lenin, and a bunch of schools called Lenin, and a bunch of everything. And so, yeah, that's part of the humiliation of the slaves. Everything is called with your cult personality leader name, and this is what he's doing also.
unbelievable. I have a question here from the live chat from I have a couple questions that I would like to pose. Diog99, thank you for being with us on the live chat. Sasha, what are the elites likely planning with the universal mRNA shot? How is this related to digital ID and AI? And that's a great question, Sasha, because we saw from Jay Bhattacharya 4 weeks ago in his editorial in the Washington Post where he stated they are going to phase out traditional vaccines and the original COVID-19 vaccine and replace them with they were going to use warp speed for a new universal mRNA technology to cure cancers and all of the things. So how do these things
Yeah.
relate?
So the one that Bhattacharya was advertising is actually not mRNA. It's another example of NIH directly profiteering. So basically,
Okay.
people who get to the top positions, the first thing they do in office, profiteer, make sure there's a deal, putting millions into their own pockets, and that's exactly what happens. So Jeffrey Taubenberger, who is the replacement of he's a replacement of Anthony Fauci at NIH, and that's
Okay.
Jeffrey Taubenberger's IP that Jay Bhattacharya now says is going to be universal flu shot. And I've written about it. It's hugely toxic. It's older technology, older technology of vaccines, growing whole viruses in aborted fetal cells, of course, and then dousing them with BPL, which is a hugely toxic compound that can't be even used for sterilization of surgical equipment because it considered that it causes cancer through every route of administration, except when a vaccine that's going to be injected into your baby is doused with it. Then it's totally safe.
Oh
So
my
and
God.
that's basically what the NIH is doing. Is yet another example of complete blatant disregard for any conflict of interest or any laws or anything. No, we're just gonna stuff our pockets by saying
So
something. Yeah.
this new guy that you're mentioning, so Jay Bhattacharya, head of NIH, is now Operation Warp Speeding this new replacement universal vaccine, and the
Hmm.
new Fauci is
Yeah.
in the same position that the old Fauci was. So he holds the
Hmm.
patents and is going to
Hmm.
cash in. Now, how does Jay Bhattacharya cash in on that? Where does he take his money?
He probably gets some sort of so the way the IP works is typically there's inventor, which is in this case Jeffrey Taubenberger. There's
Okay.
institution, which is NIH. And
Okay.
they get typically half of the royalties together. So they split them between the institution and the inventor. So NIH
Okay.
gets money, right?
Okay.
And then there's others, that's how they divide the IP. Now,
Okay. So we
of
don't
course,
know.
NIH.
So let's be very careful. Let's be very, very careful then. So I'm not saying that Jay Bhattacharya is cashing in on this new universal technology that we know
Mhm.
of yet. But the inventor certainly is, the guy
Inventor.
at, who is working with them. And we're dumping government money into it. And then we'll have to see what happens on the back end. And that's how Anthony Fauci got filthy rich, right? It's on, side deals on the
Exactly.
back end that he
Exactly.
leveraged after he left NIH, and actually even while he was still in NIH. So we
Mhm.
have yet to see kind of how Bhattacharya is going to work this deal. But I mean, they're all working deals. I mean, clearly Trump is establishing a precedent here that that's what they do. They work deals. They give naming rights. They have side projects. They have side gigs that
Yeah.
they're working on, and it's just horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
Yeah. So, but I haven't answered the question from the from,
Yeah, yeah.
from the listener. Uh, so regarding the mRNA, AI, I mean, all of that. So first of all, the mRNA shots are just garbage. They can't produce anything. It's just chemical garbage. Before they were more combinations of um, cells and rotting matter and metals, and it still is the case, but maybe chemicals and metals are now higher in the concentration of these concoctions, but they are concoctions and they are not regulated at all, so they anything can be in them. I've written numerous articles showing that nobody can make mRNA to specification. They're not even close, and nobody is trying because legally they don't have to.
Mm,
And so any claims that they make in their patents saying that mRNA is going to do XYZ, that's baloney. mRNA cannot do XYZ. It can only injure and kill people in a variety of ways. And also, many people have written about there dozens and dozens of mechanisms by which it kills and injures and causes cancer and thousands of different conditions. So it's just should be treated as poison, just poison, unstable poison, and everybody stay away from it. Now, as far
mhm.
as the digital ID and passwords, yeah, we absolutely have to resist those. So we have to reject that, because if you accept a digital ID, you might as well put a shock collar on yourself. You're done. They have
Right,
the
you're done.
digital ID. and all your data, then they will target you and turn on and off your money and control you, geofence you. So we have to resist the digital ID.
Okay.
The number one priority right now.
Yeah. Sasha Latypova, thank you so much for your input here on this terrible, 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 dark day of horrifying betrayal. The only thing that I can hope is that this will help more people to wake up and realize that Trump is a Trojan horse and that the calls are coming from inside the house. These people are not going to save us. They're not going to fix anything. We can only reject and resist and refuse to comply with the initiatives that they're putting out and hopefully survive. Sasha, thank you so much for being with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. Any last words of wisdom, and how can people support you?
Well, so yeah, you can subscribe to my Substack, Due Diligence in Art, or search sashalatypova.substack.com. And all my new articles are free. The archive is available to paid subscribers, and you can also see my art that I publish daily, not daily, but with every article. So, and
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, yeah, stick around. We're gonna bring Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, and I'm gonna talk to her in the break, and we'll see if maybe we can bring you back in. We might be able to bring you back in for a little session of Bad Girls Club if we would like to get to that. But I want to make sure that,
Okay. Oh
that
yeah, I'll
Mary.
get around.
Yeah, so we'll let you know. We'll see if we can bring you back in. We're gonna go to a quick break, everyone. When we come back, we're gonna bring in Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. It is just about 23 minutes from the start of her show On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. That is going to be a jam-packed show. She has Brooke Jackson, the woman who has sued Pfizer for, I think, $1 trillion. Maybe it's $1 billion. Warner Mendenhall is her attorney. They're going to have a lot to say about this new unholy alliance, the unholy matrimony of Donald Trump and Albert Bourla of Pfizer. Very, very troubling development. I'm sure she's going to have a lot to say about that. So we are going to go to a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to have Dr. Mary Talley Bowden here on the Shannon Joy Show. But before we go to break, I do want to tell you guys about an amazing deal from our partners over at Bright Core. I don't know if you guys have ever used kimchi or you have heard of kimchi. It is an amazing dish. It's for fermented cabbage, garlic, all kinds of good things. It's so good for your gut health, but it isn't that delicious. And as you guys know, I have the palate of a 10-year-old. And so even though I know that kimchi is really good for me and good for my gut and can help that healthy to bad gut ratio so that I, don't have bloating and lethargy and all of those things, I just can't bring myself to eat kimchi, like in its truest form. This is why I love this amazing product. It is Kimchi One from Bright Core. If you go to mybrightcore.com/joy, that is mybrightcore.com/joy right now, there's an 800 number up there, 888-912-4317. They are giving away 50% off discounts for kimchi plus free shipping. In addition to that, they are going to give the 100 first callers a free bottle of vitamin D3. That's how proud they are of this amazing product that works. It helps with your gut health, your microbiome. It separates, or it helps maintain that good to bad bacteria in your gut. It fights cancers, inflammation, chronic disease, and can also be a very powerful anti-aging element. It can help you with weight gain, especially ladies who are entering menopause when it gets a little harder to keep that weight off. It's just an amazing product. So right now, if you go to mybrightcore.com/joy, you can get 50% off plus free shipping plus a free bottle of vitamin D3. And if you don't like the product, you can ship it right back. But that's only if you call that 1-800 number. Here it is, 888-912-4317. That is 888-912-4317 for this amazing product. It is kimchi. I use it every day. I'm absolutely loving it, and you will too. We'll be back in a moment to continue the show right here on the Shannon Joy Show. I want to talk to you about Vive Biotics. This is an amazing product. I have learned over the past 12 years of presenting and reporting and commentating and analyzing the politics of the day from an independent perspective. I have learned to trust my gut, like that, my gut, like the gut sense that you get. And, we always talk about our, trusting our gut and trusting our instincts. And that's something I think that has kept me pretty safe. I've always trusted my gut, but did you know that your gut is actually, this is where the beginning of health comes from. So much is reliant on what goes on in your gut. And if you have a leaky gut or gut issues, then it can impact every aspect of your physical health. So your gut is supposed to have an 85 to 15% of good bacteria versus bad bacteria. And that's what keeps you healthy. But if that ratio is off, then you can experience sluggishness, bloating, inflammation, all sorts of health impacts. So if you've ever dealt with bloating, low energy, or just feeling off in the gut, you're not alone. It turns out that gut health is the master switch for so many things: digestion, immunity, and even your mood. So you can make sure that 85 to 15% ratio is perfect in your gut with Vive Biotics from Perfect Origins. I'm using it right now. It is not your run-of-the-mill probiotic pill. It has 15 different probiotic strains plus prebiotics, and they've put them through this special fermentation process so they actually survive your stomach acid and make it to your intestines. And that's where all the good stuff happens, and they do their work. This is going to help restore your gut to the 18 to 15 good to bad bacteria balance. It can improve digestion, reduce your bloating, and also support regularity. It boosts your immune system and also your energy levels, and also supports healthy skin and even mood throughout the gut-brain connection. It's vegan, it's dairy-free, gluten-free, and non-GMO. And right now you can get a free 3-month supply of Vive Biotics by going to my URL. It's www.perfectorigins.com/SJS-VB. But TJ is going to pop that URL up in the live chat so you guys can go CJP Rumble. I don't know if I need pre or pro. You need both, CJP Rumble, both prebiotic and probiotic. All right. So go right now, click on the link. CJ is going to pop it up in the live chat and also in the comment section of the Shannon Joy Show right here on Rumble. It's also in my show notes if you want to click on that. You can win a free 3-month supply of Vive Biotics. You can try it out, but they also have 25% off for the Joy audience right now. And you get that by going to that URL. And so with that, and I do believe, you need to put in the Joy promo code JOY for that additional 25% off. This is a great way to try it out and get your gut functioning properly with that right balance. Okay. So thank you to Vive Biotics. We also love our partnership with our friends over at the Satellite Phone Store. In an emergency, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a government inflicted pseudo emergency, whatever it is, the more prepared you are, the better off you're going to be, and the better you're going to be able to make decisions for your family that will help you in the long term. And so Satellite Phone Store has been our one-stop shop at the Shannon Joy household for everything that we need to be prepared. Whether it is a solar panel or a generator, they have all sizes of generators that you can use in short term, long term, whether it's the Faraday collection, right? Protecting your devices from EMP, EMF, and also protecting your bodies from EMF radiation, 5G, 4G, 3G, you name it, all the Gs. They have the most extensive line of Faraday products, I think, on the market. And they are the highest quality Faraday you can get. From the blankets, the beanies, and the bags. They are always 10% off when you use the promo code JOY. So go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Always use that JOY promo code. It always works. And of course, They have the satellite phones. The best way for you to keep in touch with your loved ones when the lights go out. And as we have seen in recent news headlines, the lights are going out more and more. And as they are taxing our grid with this building of the techno digital gulag, they are using up more and more energy sources. And so many outlets are, I mean, you are seeing one story after another of predicted rolling brownouts, blackouts. This is coming. This is going to be a reality in the next 24 months because of the expansion of the technocracy and the data centers. And so this is when, I mean, we need to be prepared. That's why you need the satellite phones and all of these preparation materials. So sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. Let's bring our good Shannon Joy show. Without further ado, I want to bring in my good friend and show host, co-host every Wednesday. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden is with us, getting ready for her show On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, coming up in just about actually 13, 14 minutes. We went a little bit long in the last segment. Dr. Bowden, how are you? Do we have Dr. Bowden ready to go? Okay, so let's bring in Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Hey, LT Oracle of Truth, how are you? Mr. Worthless Eater, you look great on the live chat. There she is. Hello, Dr. Bowden. I think that you are frozen. So TJ, I'm not getting Dr. Bowden. Do we need to have her pop out and come back in, or do you need to refresh because we are not ready? Ranger 1791, I'm ready to go if you need a fill in, Shannon. She's here, she's ready to go. We just have to get the tech ready. We did pretty well with Sasha Latypova, but let's try to get Dr. Mary Talley Bowden in as well. Let's see if you have any comments on the live chat. Johnny Morris 33. It is classic WWE World Wrestling style engagement in Washington, D.C. I agree with you as well. Andy Pep is on the live chat. Hey, Andy. This is the first time that I've seen you on the live chat. Welcome to the SJ live chat. Johnny Morris 33 also. First time I've seen you on the live chat. You look great. We have Be My Valentine, Slim Jones. We Are All Dead. You guys all look great on the live chat. Let's see if we can bring in Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Are we ready yet, TJ, for Mary? I don't know if we are. Do you can't get anything loaded on the computer? Okay. So we're going to wait for them to get Dr. Mary Bowden going. And we'll take okay. Ranger 1791. We are all devastated. Sorry, guys. I'm listening to my producers in the ear. So we are having a little bit of an issue with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden's computer system. So we're just going to wait. We saw her for just a moment, but now they're going to troubleshoot with her. Yeah, I mean, the response is people were pretty upset yesterday. As I mentioned, this is a huge betrayal from the Trump administration, also at HHS, regarding this unholy alliance with Pfizer. And I asked this morning, so many of my followers on Twitter, people who have suffered so tremendously, either from, COVID-19 or side effects from the COVID-19 shots, or even death of loved ones, of children from the COVID-19 shots. And just the idea, I mean, Pfizer, pushed out and distributed the majority of the shots across the country. And so there were so many people pouring in with comments. Alan Martin had a comment. He said, Pfizer, because I asked everyone, how do you feel about this? Because I think people should be angry. I think, trying to take a measured approach and trying to be diplomatic and giving them time and giving them, enough room to negotiate things. I think that time is over. I think it's time for us to be angry. We should be angry. We should have righteous indignation about what they are doing to us. And Alan Martin had this to say. He said, Pfizer murdered my 18-year-old daughter. mRNA batch FN 2908 on November 9th, 2022. He said the President of the United States just awarded Pfizer a $70 billion contract. Well, Pfizer pledged to invest $70 billion, but of course, this is a merger between the federal government and Pfizer will have all sorts of carve-outs and immunity protection and all of the things, and also government contracts as well. And so in the face of that, he just awarded them another contract to murder more people. He said the man standing beside him today, and he's talking about Bobby Kennedy Jr., shook my hand and promised to make them pay less than a year ago. This is from Alan Martin. He said, here I am still trying to pay off her funeral. He said, I don't need 70 billion. I only need about 4,000 so that she can have a headstone. They murdered her in all caps, and now they're leaders and great people, question mark. He says, F you. And he said the words. The gaslighting is too much. I can't effing take it anymore. And that's from Alan Martin. And these are the real responses from people whose children have died, whose children have been killed because of Pfizer mRNA shots. And not only are they not being supported, they are being gaslit. They're being ignored. And the knife is being twisted in their backs. And he mentioned talking to Bobby Kennedy Jr., promising that he would make Pfizer pay. Mary Telly Bowden is with us now. We were able to get her all set up in the Joy Virtual Studio as she's preparing for her show, On Call with Dr. Mary Tally Bowden. And wow, there's no one else I want to talk to than you. We just had Sasha Latypova in the Joy Virtual Studio to get her thoughts on what she called an unholy matrimony, a marriage of Donald Trump and Albert Bourla, a coming together of the corporation and the state in an unholy alliance, wicked lucrative. Trump has the naming rights for Trump RX, and there are just broken bodies, broken people, broken family in the wake. You are a practicing physician. You see people in your practice every day devastated by these shots. What are your thoughts about what went down yesterday?
Well, I mean, it was a slap in the face. It was a gut punch. I'm on several chat rooms with the vaccine injured, and people were crying. I mean, people were really upset about this. Like you said, I continue to see patients almost on a daily basis who are injured by these shots. I don't think we've seen the full ramifications of the poison. 80% of Americans got these shots. And what I am seeing is manifestations of lingering spike protein in the body. And whether you have symptoms or not, if you go and check your COVID spike protein antibody levels, you're going to be shocked 4 years later. The people that got the shots, what I'm seeing, these spike protein antibody levels are 10 times higher than the patients that did not get these shots. That is not normal. It suggests that there is spike protein still in the body. America has been poisoned, and our government is laughing at us. It's really disgusting.
You're going to be talking to Brooke Jackson today and her attorney, Warner Mendenhall. Brooke witnessed outright fraud conducted by Pfizer in the clinical trials in the state of Texas when she was there. That is the root of her I think it's $1 billion lawsuit against Pfizer. Have you spoken with them yet? I mean, how do you think they are going to react to this? And how is you talked about the people in the chat rooms and people who have been injured, people whose lives have been turned upside down, who have lost loved ones. What about the medical freedom community at large? Like people who have influence, people who are interfacing with Bobby Kennedy Jr. and MAHA and some of the people in Washington, D.C. I mean, what are the thoughts there as well? But let's start with Brooke and what you plan on talking with her about, and then we'll move out to the movement as a whole, which we can call it MAHA, but it really is the medical freedom movement. Those of us who stood up against this from the very beginning. Go ahead.
Well, clearly we can't rely on our executive branch to do anything about this problem. The legislative branch has tried and failed as well. So now we have to focus on the judicial branch. So today I'm focusing on two cases that could have a significant impact. One is to protect religious exemptions, because 20% of Americans are not legally allowed to seek a religious exemption for a vaccine. Now, I think it's ludicrous that we even need any kind of exemption whatsoever, but at least you should be able to exercise your religious freedom and choose whether or not to get any kind of shot in your body. So I'm talking to Brian Festa with We the Patriots first, and then I'll be talking to Brooke Jackson and her attorney, Warner Mendenhall, who have been battling in the courts for 5 years, trying to get accountability for Pfizer. And the problem is Attorney General Pam Bondi is standing in their way. Well, they have been, hanging on by a thread, but there's some glimmer of hope now. There's some new developments that we're going to talk about. As far as MAGA and MAHA, it's very disappointing. We have a bunch of enablers. We have a bunch of people that have criticized you and me for being too outspoken, for not being team players. Well, here we are. These people that are being measured and saying just be patient. Well, we're 9 months into this, and people are still getting poisoned. Babies, pregnant women, and the government's laughing at us. So that's why we have to get louder. We have to be more vocal, and it's yesterday was just a prime example of why it's dangerous to be measured and to go along and pretend trust the plan. We can't do that anymore.
Absolutely not. I think we have to be mean. We have to be nasty. We should not be apologizing for holding these people accountable. I think it's time that we stop trusting their plans and their 12-dimensional chess and all of the things that they told us to do, because clearly it just isn't working. And the only thing that these people understand is pain. So I think we just have to be mean. And I don't know what else to say. Like, everyone's, be nice and use the diplomatic channels and play nice, but that's not going to work. And so, and I also think that we do need to keep encouraging the culture to just resist. Like, the good news is that Pfizer is so desperate, and they're rolling out this new platform because people are not taking the COVID shots. People are increasingly rejecting pharmaceutical products as a whole, right, in favor of nutraceuticals and supplements and sunshine and grounding and fresh air and exercise and all that type of stuff, carnivore diets that you talk about. So I think that there's good news in that respect, but it doesn't erase, the tragedy for the people who are injured, because to me, that's the worst part of all of this, is that they are suffering so terribly, and they're not investing anything in finding cures for spike disease and finding cures for people who have been, injured in debilitating ways from these shots, which is just tragic,
Exactly. The CICP, which is a fund designated to help the injured, I can't remember the latest statistics, but it's dismal. They have contributed very, very little to helping the injured. They're not even acknowledging there's a problem. Recently, there was a long COVID summit held by HHS. What about the long vax? I mean, they're not even acknowledging that there's a problem, and it's just highly frustrating. These patients, they don't bounce back. It's a very hard recovery. And it's been very frustrating for me as a physician, because I like to see results, and it's very slow going. It's very trial and error. We really need some support.
It's just so sad. And then they're saying now that they're going to Operation Warp Speed childhood cancer cures using mRNA technology, which means that they're going to experiment on children. Operation Warp Speed was the hallmark of Operation Warp Speed was turning the entire population of the United States of America into experiments, right? Human experimentation, because they were authorized under emergency use authorization, which made them by default experimental in nature. And so if they use the same tactic, if they use the same technique in their plans for children, and I posted this out earlier today, my takeaway is that they're going to be experimenting on poor children with cancer. And these are probably going to be horrifying experiments. I mean, I can't even, and we won't even know the extent of it because they'll cover it up and they'll hide it. It's just horrifying.
Right. And I'll be talking to Brooke and Warner about this, the obvious DNA contamination in these shots, which makes these even more problems other than the immediate reaction is this rise in cancer that we're seeing. And what happens is this DNA contamination suppresses P53, which is a tumor suppressor gene, and then it can lead to cancer, as well as the problem of potentially integrating into our DNA. So I'm hoping that Warner and Brooke can give us some insights on whether this is another legal avenue we can pursue.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to let you go because you have a show to do. It is 1:32, and it is officially beginning of On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Great lineup of guests today. And as we're getting those guests ready to go, I do want to thank our sponsors over at The Wellness Company. We could not bring Dr. Mary Talley Bowden to you every day. She is live right here on the SJ channel on Rumble. She is live on her Twitter channel as well, and also on Died Suddenly, among other platforms. And we're just thankful for the folks over at The Wellness Company. They came on as sponsors to get this show started and up and running. And as you know, they have the iconic emergency medication kits. They have the Spike Detox from Dr. Peter McCullough, among other amazing products. And I want to talk to you guys today about the amazing new Appetite. This is one capsule a day. And here's the question. What if one capsule a day could help you feel full, reduce cravings, and actually enjoy eating less? I know so many of you out there are struggling with weight. One of the first aspects of a journey towards health is getting your body to a healthy weight. Well, they can help you over at The Wellness Company. Appetite from The Wellness Company is a groundbreaking formula that helps you take control of your hunger. It boosts your metabolism and you will feel fuller longer. It features Akkermansia. It's a next generation probiotic shown to boost GLP-1, the hormone that controls appetite and metabolism. It's paired with saffron to curb emotional eating, reduce stress, and support balanced serotonin levels with no stimulants needed whatsoever. Appetite also includes GLP-1 and GLP-2 activating probiotics, plus prebiotics like inulin and green banana to help keep you satisfied and support gut health. It's not an injection, it is a supplement. It's time to get your gut control. It's time to get you in control of your gut by controlling your thoughts. And your mind is so powerful in doing that with a unique combination of amazing engineered into one convenient capsule ready to work naturally with your body. So what you're going to want to do is head to twc.health/Mary. That's twc.health/Mary to get 10% off this amazing product plus free shipping and take control of your health and your weight with Appetite from The Wellness Company. Diog99 thinks it's a great product. I see you, Diog99. All right, production team, are we going to Mary or are we going to commercial break? What are we doing at this point? Because I think I'm still, let me see who's on the live chat right now. We have Mod Trend. Great to see you. Oh, Diog99 with a question for Dr. Mary. How do we find trustworthy doctors? That's a great question. Keep that up in the live chat. And okay. Okay. So we are pitching into standby. I don't know what that means. I'm talking to my producers. We're going to go to break. So I so apologize to you. We're going to go to break. One more commercial for the Wellness Company, and then we will go to Mary. You guys are going to have a great show, and I'll see you in just a little bit.
Hi. All right. Great. And today, excited to have two warriors, two cases that could really change things in the wake of yesterday's news. We could all use a little encouragement. That was a big blow to all of the vaccine injured. It was a blow to all the people that have been fighting for the last 4 or 5 years to get the truth out, to see the government laughing in our faces. Our first guest is Brian Festa, and he is the vice president and co-founder of We the Patriots. Brian has a monumental case. He's taken the premise of religious exemptions to the Supreme Court. California is the hotbed of communism, and they have declared that religious exemptions are not allowed in California. And you might not know this, but 20% of Americans are not allowed to receive any sort of exemption on a religious basis. And those states include California, Connecticut, Maine, and West Virginia. You are not allowed to get an exemption if you feel that your religious beliefs do not allow it. That is not allowed in those states. That's 20% of Americans. So this case is about a student in California who was kicked out of school because the school would not honor his religious reasons for not getting vaccinations. He's kicked out of school. He's an honor student. He's in a public school in California. And Brian Festa, who is joining us momentarily, will come on to talk to us about this case. And actually today, October 1st, was the deadline. We should have some breaking news on the case. It's a deadline for the defendants to respond. It's taken straight to the Supreme Court. And we hope that Brian has some good news for us. The outcome of this case is huge. It could set a huge precedent. Because if they succeed, then it means that the government, at least the state governments, don't have the right to deny you on your vaccination status for religious reasons. If you have a religious objection to getting a vaccine, the state must honor it. At least that's my interpretation. But as soon as Brian gets on, and Ed, I don't know if he's ready, we can bring him on. As soon as Brian Festa gets on, we'll talk about this case more. After we talk to Brian, we're going to talk to Brooke Jackson and her attorney, Warner Mendenhall. Okay, Brian's almost ready. But after Brian, we're going to talk to Brooke Jackson and Warner Mendenhall. And they've been in the courts for 5 years, trying to bring down Pfizer. And this may be our only for bringing down Pfizer, because clearly our president is buddies with the CEO of Pfizer. So if the executive branch is not going to help us, then perhaps the judicial branch will. We do have Attorney General Pam Bondi standing in the way of this case. And Warner will tell us about that. It's a little bit complicated, but apparently the government is the DOJ is protecting the government. Normally, the DOJ goes after these companies for fraud, but in this case, they're actually protecting them, which is unusual. Is Brian ready to go? Not yet? Okay. So we're having technical issues, but so with Warner and Brooke coming on, they've had a recent advancement as well that should give us some hope, because literally this case has been like hanging on by a tiny thread. Lots of setbacks, but they have kept plugging along. And if we can just get to the next step, we just need the case heard, right? We're not even asking Pam Bondi to say, yes, Pfizer's guilty. Just get out of the way. Just get out of the way so we can hear this case, let the public see a potential for some accountability, because 80% of Americans took these shots. And from what I am seeing in my office, these shots linger on in the body. They're not, it's not a one and done thing. These patients, the people that got the COVID shots, what I am seeing is their spike protein antibody levels are 10 times higher than the patients that did not get any kind of vaccination. And most of my patients received 2, maybe 3 shots. None of my patients have received a recent COVID shot, yet their spike protein antibody levels are sky high years after getting a shot with no recent infection. And it's highly alarming to me. It just means that the spike protein, the ramifications of these injections live on in the body. And I certainly see it clinically. I see patients on a regular basis. I'm still reporting people to VAERS. I will say that VAERS has become much more responsive with the new administration. I've been shocked. I've actually gotten requests for more information, which is new. I kind of gave up on VAERS because every time I would submit the reports and just zero feedback, silence, deafening silence from VAERS. And the last 2 that I submitted, I got immediate response asking for more information, which is a good sign. But the government is not helping these patients either, financially. The claims to CICP, the vast majority, I think it's like 98% of claims have been outright rejected. And we know that the general medical community is not acknowledging these shots, not acknowledging that there's injuries or problems. Patients tell me that, for example, I saw a middle-aged woman, she was about 54, came into my office last week. Her right arm has not stopped trembling since she got 2 shots in that arm. Previously healthy, thin, marathon runner, teacher, completely disabled by the shot. And she's, of course, seen numerous doctors, and she traveled to me from out of state because she couldn't find anybody else to listen to her. Numerous doctors will not even entertain the possibility that the shot caused her right arm to continuously tremble nonstop. Medicate, we tried beta blockers, we tried, sedatives, nothing works. And she can't find a doctor in the community to even acknowledge that there's a problem. Can't give her a diagnosis, but we cannot attribute it to the sacred vaccine. And I know that there are doctors out there still pushing the vaccines. I know that there was one of my followers, Lauren Williams, mentioned yesterday that her primary care doctor sent her an email urging her to get a COVID shot. Now, the good news is the vast majority of Americans have wised up. They're no longer getting these shots. The CDC even presented data at the recent ACIP meeting that only 10% of healthcare workers were continuing to get these shots. So despite what mainstream media wants you to think, despite what perhaps President Trump wants you to think, people are not getting these shots. That being said, they're still being offered. There still are children and pregnant women getting shots. And yes, there have been gentle modifications to the vaccine schedule. Gentle, not strong enough in my opinion, and more like breadcrumbs. I am curious. I'm going to talk to the lawyers today about this. How do these changes, do they have any impact on liability protection? Because what we have seen in response to ACIP's meeting and these gentle modifications of the vaccine schedule, what we have seen now is states just rebuking the CDC, just saying, okay, well, we're going to form our own rules. We're going to form our own coalition. So there's a coalition between California, Oregon, Washington State, and Hawaii. It's called the Western Health Coalition or something like that. And they're going to form their own recommendations on vaccines. And they're just going to ignore what the CDC says. So I am curious, does this then expose them to liability? I don't know that. We'll ask the attorneys. There's another coalition forming in the Northeast. And a handful of states, the usual suspects. I think the only state in the Northeast that's not part of this coalition is New Hampshire. And even Texas, the Texas Medical Association, which is the largest medical association in the country. A few days ago, they came out, it was Monday morning actually, they came out and said that they are going to, instead of just going straight with CDC recommendations, they're expanding their recommendations to include the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Family Practitioners, and the American Medical Association. This is a wimpy way of them rejecting the CDC. They're trying to stand apart, but also not rock the boat too much. But the message was very clear that they reject the ACIP recommendations. And it'll be interesting to see if that maybe perhaps exposes the Texas Medical Association to some liability. I would really like to see that. Texas Medical Association has gone after me. They belong to a group called Shots Heard. And Shots Heard was one of the many influencers paid by the Biden administration to go after people like myself who were not going along with the narrative, not calling the shot safe and effective. So what Biden did, and this does not get enough press, Biden spent $11.5 million, billion dollars, doled out to social media influencers to take us down, to spread propaganda. And organizations like Shots Heard called for doctors like myself to be reported to the medical board. They personally went after me. And Texas Medical Association, I have the receipts. Texas Medical Association was part of this group called Shots Heard. They and ironically, I pay membership dues to Texas Medical Association. I pay about $800 a year. And if I don't pay those dues, then I lose my malpractice insurance. So I'm sort of caught. And this is a big problem in Texas. We are hoping that somebody, perhaps the Attorney General, will look into this matter because it really restricts our ability to, my ability to free speech. They're basically going after me for speaking out. And if I don't, then I lose my membership, my malpractice insurance, which is not good. So Ed, how are things going with Brian Festa? Are we still having technological problems? Is he going to be able to join us? Okay. So we are diverting. We're going to try to get Brooke and Warner on first because I guess Brian is having tech problems. And it's not I got disconnected right before we joined us. A little more about yesterday. To me, it was shocking. We've seen so much back and forth with Trump, which is confusing because there was, there's a glimmer of hope when he came out with that post saying, hey, people are telling me that Pfizer is so bad. I want to see the receipts. Let's expose this. And then that kind of just got completely erased by yesterday. I do want to acknowledge the MAGA influencers who are speaking out about this. Lara Logan, Megyn Kelly, Emerald Robinson, Steve Deitch, I don't know how to pronounce it. Thank you. You guys have spoken out You have publicized this. There are a lot of other MAGA influencers, Cat Turd, Benny Johnson, Jack Posobiec, Laura Loomer. The deafening silence is not good. This is an issue that has affected every single American. 80% of Americans were poisoned by these mRNA shots. And likely, unless they got a dud, which I do believe there were duds, unless they got a dud, still have the lingering effects of these shots in their bodies. And the mRNA technology is not going away anytime soon. That was announced yesterday. They're going to continue down the path of these mRNA shots. Huge concerns over DNA contamination that was covered up. This was addressed during the ACIP meeting. We have more than enough data at this point to justify pulling these shots off the market. Any other shot would have been pulled off a long time ago. Swine flu shot was pulled off after a handful of cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome. So it's very frustrating. And the other thing is, these MAHA and MAGA influencers are enabling Trump, which just perpetuates the problem. We need an intervention. Thank you, John Rich. You publicly came out and addressed this. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene has done so. I know Senator Ron Johnson has. I know Representative Thomas Massey has. But we need an intervention. I mean, this has gone on. I've never seen anything like this with any other product.
I can hear you, yeah.
I think we're ready now with Brooke and Warner. Am I right? Okay, we're almost ready for Warner and Brooke to talk about their takedown of Pfizer, because as we have seen, the executive branch is not going to help us. So we're going to have to focus all our efforts on the judicial branch and focus all our efforts on educating the public, because it may just be a matter of market forces to keep people from taking any more shots, publicly shaming the people in charge, the companies. I know I have made sure that none of my investments are tied to Pfizer or Moderna or any of these drug companies. I pulled those out a long time ago, and because I'm in one of these mutual funds galore, I make sure I've asked my investment advisors to just really make sure they go through every month and make sure they haven't been snuck into my investments. That's a way that we can fight back. It's just make sure you're not inadvertently giving these companies money. Because you may be, if you're in a mutual fund, you may be.
But boy, it just didn't seem to be working today.
Warner's having an issue.
Okay, we're still having issues. Maybe we can bring Brooke on while we're trying to get Warner hooked up. Would that work, Ed?
Yeah.
No? Okay. All right. MAHA. Let's talk about MAHA. MAHA, we've talked about Tylenol. Talked about junk food.
The virtual camera shit.
Talked about AI, drug prices.
I'm trying to get away, and I have options.
Some very minor alterations to the vaccine schedule. When is MAHA going to talk about the millions of people who have been injured and killed by the mRNA shots and the hospital protocols? We can't forget all the people that died in the hospital alone, without their loved ones, that were starved, they were dehydrated, they were euthanized in some cases. I reviewed charts that demonstrated this. Horrible things happened in the hospitals. Horrible things. And because nothing is being done about it, it just empowers them. The next pandemic, it's going to happen. And Warner Mendenhall had a great case. Grace Shara was a young woman with Down syndrome who was essentially murdered in the hospital. The hospital put a DNR on her without the parents' permission and allowed her to die while her sister screamed, she's not a DNR, she's not a DNR. And the hospital, the nurses stood by and did nothing. And this case went to trial. It was a jury trial. And unfortunately, the jury ruled in favor of the hospital. My first hint that something might be wrong is one of the jurors asked, why did you give her ivermectin? So we know there's just this mindset that is going to be really hard to overcome. That's why the cases that we're going to talk about today are just so important. They're just vital that we can get this information out. Ed, why don't we take a commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll start with Brooke and Warner, and then maybe we can get Brian on. We'll do a commercial break, and then we'll reconvene with our guest. And we're having Brian Festa on, and we're having with We the Patriots. They could, both of these cases could use your help if you have the means. If you don't have the means, at least you can spread the word on social media. Help them, follow their accounts. We the Patriots. I am Brooke Jackson, Mendenhall firm. Warner Mendenhall has become a leader of litigation in the COVID arena. He has started a group called Freedom Council, and they are really focused on accountability for what happened during the pandemic. Brian Festa, also a huge fighter in this area. They could both use your support. Go to their websites, follow them on social media. You can donate to their causes. The other case that Warner has, which is worth mentioning, is with Deb Conrad concerning VAERS. And this is an interesting avenue because the statute of limitations on this type of harm or what crime is 6 years. So we still have time. And basically, Deb Conrad was fired because she was reporting cases to VAERS. She was working in the hospital. She's a physician's assistant. She was reporting cases to VAERS, and she got reprimanded for doing that and then got fired. So people may not realize this, but if you have a suspected injury from these COVID shots, most institutions are required by law under the EUA status to report any suspected injuries to VAERS. And if they didn't, that's a crime, and they can be prosecuted for that. So this case with Deb Conrad is going to be huge. Okay, we're going to take a break, and then we come back. We will talk to hopefully Warner and Brooke. So good.
I do want to talk to you before we get to David Knight, though. Another amazing sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon. I don't know if you guys have seen the headlines. There has been so much in terms of studies regarding nitric oxide and in terms of cardiovascular health. Right now, we're dealing with the turbo cancers. There's so many health impacts from the rollout of the bioweapons. The bioweapons, the mRNA shots are still in the market. Pharmaceutical corporations are still not liable, and people are still getting sick and getting poisoned. So it's manifesting in a lot of ways, but we know one of the very first ways that we saw the injury manifest was through myocarditis, pericarditis, and heart conditions. And this was something that Dr. Peter McCullough was talking about very, very early on. It was also something that was very evident in the preclinical trials that we saw, and even the animal trials that were conducted on mRNA technologies, 5, 6, 7 years before the rollout of the COVID shots. So in the terms of cardiovascular impact, for those of you who have taken the vaccines or believe that you may have had COVID and that impacted you, there's a lot out right now about nitric oxide and your cardiovascular health. And here are just a few. There's a new study from the University of Exeter. It found that drinking nitrate-rich beetroot juice lowered blood pressure in older adults. And the effect was attributed to reshaping what they call the oral microbiome, which led to more efficient conversion of dietary nitrates into nitric oxide, a molecule that helps to relax and widen your blood vessels. So this makes it easier for your blood to flow through your entire system. And as we know, that blood flow helps to bring oxygen, critical amounts of oxygen, to all of your organs, your lungs, your brain, your heart, you name it, right? And another research study in March of 2025, there was an article in Men's Health that reaffirmed nitric oxide's role in improving cardiovascular health by promoting what is called vasodilation, which increases blood flow and lowers blood pressure. So it is critical that your blood is flowing. And this product, Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon, is one that is frankly amazing. It's a daily supplement and patented formula that works by boosting your body's nitric oxide levels by up to, get this, 230%. It opens your arteries up 62% to improve blood flow throughout your body. So this means you're getting more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, your heart, and your muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. Yes, it's also anti-aging, which you guys know, I'm always a sucker for the anti-aging as I get older and older. So it has S7 botanical complex and nitrosylgene, which helps to boost nitric oxide production. It also has trans resveratrol to support healthy blood flow, and bioperine, so your body actually absorbs it, unlike most of the off-the-shelf stuff that barely even moves the needle. So right now, you can get 25% off plus free shipping plus a money-back guarantee by going to bloodflow7.com/Shannon. That is bloodflow7.com/Shannon. There is no risk. You can send back the empty bottles if you don't like it. You'll get the 25% off and also the free shipping. But if you or a loved one, your spouse, your mom, your dad, your kids, if they have been suffering from any type of cardiovascular impact from the COVID shots or COVID-19 itself, this is something that you guys are going to want to check out. So again, bloodflow7.com/Shannon. That is bloodflow7.com/Shannon. Thank you.
And we're back. And hey, great. Brian, great to see you.
I don't have audio. I'm sorry about this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I am not getting audio. No, I hear it now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
No, I'm glad we got you on. This is great. So let's dig right into it. You have a huge case, and there was supposed to be some news today. Can you just briefly tell us what the case is about and give us any news you have?
Yes. So this is a case out of California. I can't even believe what happened, actually. A student, a high school honors student, a ninth grade student, was kicked out of school earlier this year. He's now supposed to be in 10th grade, but still hasn't been allowed back in. He was kicked out of school in Ventura, California, because he asserted a religious exemption to vaccinations. He had been allowed to remain in school previously when the religious exemption, the personal belief exemption in California, was repealed in 2015. Students were allowed to remain in through their checkpoints. So his next checkpoint was at 7th grade. His mother had submitted proof of homeoprophylaxis immunizations that she was using, and they accepted that. The school nurse accepted that. But it wasn't until they did an audit earlier this year, or actually in December of last year, that the state discovered he didn't have the traditional vaccinations that are required under California law, and they expelled him from school. This is an honor student. They gave him all failing grades, expelled him from school, and then this is unbelievable. The prosecutor, the Ventura County District Attorney, went after the parents for truancy charges, criminally charging the parents, even though they created the problem. The parents didn't keep their son out of school. They wanted to send him to school. Luckily, we were able to get the truancy charges dropped because, we asserted a First Amendment challenge, and it's pretty clear that they were hostile to this child's religious beliefs, even criminally prosecuting the parents for their religious beliefs. That's not allowed in this country. This is not, this is not North Korea. Okay? We are supposed to have the right to our religious beliefs and the free exercise of religion. We now have filed an emergency petition because we were not able to get emergency relief from the district court or the Ninth Circuit. So we now have an emergency petition at the U.S. Supreme Court. And in kind of a stunning move, we really weren't expecting this, Justice Kagan ordered a response, because she's the justice that you have to go through with the Ninth Circuit to get an emergency petition heard. Some people asked her, well, why are you going through Justice Kagan? She's not, they don't think she's going to be friendly to our cause. We don't have a choice, okay? When you have an appeal, an emergency appeal from the Ninth Circuit, she's the justice assigned to the Ninth Circuit. And actually, believe it or not, these things don't always come out the way you would think along party lines. In 2011, there was a vaccine injury case. You're probably familiar with it, Brucewicz versus Wyeth. And Justice Scalia actually ruled against the parents seeking compensation through the vaccine injury compensation program for their daughter's very serious vaccine injury. And the conservative majority actually ruled against the parents. And who wrote the dissent along with Justice Ginsburg? Sonia Sotomayor. So, and Justice Kagan, by the way, it recused herself because she was the U.S. Solicitor General involved in that case at the lower level. So she was a justice at that time, but wasn't involved. But the point is, she ordered a response. She ordered Ventura and the state of California to respond by today. They did file their response last night. I've had a chance to read it. They're claiming the Supreme Court doesn't have jurisdiction. Personally, I think they might have to go back and do some reading, because the Supreme Court has plenary jurisdiction when it comes to appellate matters. So when it comes to appeals, they have jurisdiction. They can take a case actually from the Ninth Circuit. They can take a case that's there and hear it themselves. Sua sponte, they call it, on their own. So they have great authority. We strongly disagree with that. We'll see how it comes out. But I think it's a good sign that Justice Kagan asked for a response from the state and from Ventura County, because Ventura Schools, because it shows this case is being taken seriously.
Yeah. Is this the first time that a case like this has come before this, or potentially has come towards the Supreme Court?
So again, they haven't officially decided to take it, but we did have a case before the Supreme Court on the same issue a year ago. And unfortunately, they didn't take that one. We don't know for sure, but we feel it came pretty close, because the last time we had a religious exemption vaccine case before them, which was in 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul, if you remember, of course you remember, she said that healthcare workers do not have religious freedom. They're not allowed to use religious exemptions. They don't have their First Amendment right to free exercise of religion. She banned religious exemptions in the entire state of New York for healthcare workers. We filed a case that went to the Supreme Court, and 3 justices would have voted to take it up. We needed a 4th. So in order for the Supreme Court to take your petition, you need 4 justices. So Gorsuch, Thomas, and Alito would have, and they actually issued a written statement explaining that they wanted to take our case. But unfortunately, we didn't get the 4th. Last year, we suspect, although we don't have an official vote tally, the same thing happened with our Connecticut schools religious exemption case. Now here we are bringing it another time, and it's being taken very seriously. A response has been ordered from the state. I mean, they could have just, Kagan has the authority. She could have just very quickly dismissed this out of hand, said there's no jurisdiction, we're not even going to hear it. She didn't do that. She said, I want a response by October 1st from California. So they are looking at this carefully. And if this gets taken up, Mary, this is going to be groundbreaking. This would restore religious exemptions. Not only, it has the potential, let me say this, to restore the religious exemption, personal belief exemption on a religious basis for the state of California families. but also for the families in New York and in Connecticut and in Maine and actually in West Virginia, which for all intents and purposes doesn't have a religious exemption either. So you're talking about 20% or more of the nation's population that does not have their First Amendment right to free exercise of religion, only when it comes to vaccines. They have it. They can kneel on a football field and pray like Coach Kennedy did in Washington State. They can refuse to bake a cake for a gay couple, a wedding cake like Jack Phillips in Colorado. But for some reason, when it comes to the vaccine issue, they're not allowed to have religious liberty. And we obviously think that is just dead wrong.
This is a huge fight. So I'm so happy that you're here telling us about it. But I'm curious, like, what does it take? What will it take that Americans don't need any kind of exemption whatsoever? I mean, it's a simple concept of the fact that we should be able to refuse having something injected into our bodies. Is there a way? What is the path to that? How do we get rid of the need for exemptions entirely?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because we here at We the Patriots USA are actually working on those efforts as well. And who knows, maybe you can help us. You know, some people in Congress. We're trying to get our bill before key members of Congress, like Senator Johnson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, other people that have shown support for this position, to amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to make it illegal to discriminate against any person on the basis of their vaccination status, their health status. And actually, we have it worded, your refusal or your acceptance of any medical product or device, etc., cannot be used to discriminate against you. Because we've actually seen cases where parents want to use alternative medicine, alternative treatments, holistic treatments, and CPS goes after them and takes their children. We do medical kidnapping work as well here at We the Patriots USA. We actually got 4 children back home who were, in our opinion, stolen from their parents in Missouri because they were using an alternative treatment. So actually, we're trying to make it illegal to discriminate against any person for refusing something like a vaccine or for using their own alternative treatments. And if we got that amended, the infrastructure is already there. So for instance, in the workplace, the EEOC is an agency that's already funded, right? So they would already be able to enforce it. So along with race, color, religion, sex, national origin, which are already the classes that are in the Civil Rights Act, and in particular Title VII, which protects against employment discrimination, we would just be adding health status, 2 words, and then defining health status to include your vaccination status. We've already written a draft bill. I've already been shopping it to congressmen and senators, and we are hoping to get some traction if we can get this introduced and get some hearings on this. That would completely eliminate mandates everywhere in the country. Never again would there be a health mandate. That
would protect students as well, not just employees?
Yes, right. Because it would amend every single section. Title II, public accommodations, Title VI, which includes colleges and universities, Title VII, which includes places of employment, and Title II also, public accommodations, includes retail establishments. So no more show us your vaccine card, or you can't, enter our restaurant because you're not wearing a mask. That would be eliminated too.
In hospitals, because that's a huge problem. Yeah. Okay.
Unless they carved out an exception. Like they did in Idaho. So where I am in Idaho, they passed the Idaho Medical Freedom Act in April of this year, which actually precedes what Florida did. I love what Governor DeSantis and Dr. Latypova are doing. They're awesome. We love them. They're our friends. But at the same time, Idaho was first. Nobody talks about it. We actually passed the Medical Freedom Act, which banned all vaccination mandates for school and workplaces in the state. The only thing is it did carve out an exception for hospitals. And obviously we don't like that, but we're working on making it even stronger for the next legislative session. But the bill to Congress would be huge because that would protect all 50 states. I don't think only Idaho and Florida and places like that should be protected. All 50 states should be protected.
I agree. And there's a petition on your website where people can sign. Do you know how many signatures you've had on that petition so far?
So, unfortunately, because of the shadow banning and the censorship, which you're no stranger to, we don't, I think at last checked, it was only around like 10,000. We're hoping this explodes. If we got this shared everywhere, and again, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but if you or people you know could help share that mission, that would be great. Because if this, we really should have, honestly, there are millions of people in this country that agree with us. I would say, actually, I would venture to say the majority of people don't like the idea of mandates, don't want the government mandating something be put in our body.
Brian, I can no longer hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, now I can hear you. Okay,
oh, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No.
We only have a couple more minutes. Let's get through this.
Yeah. Yes. Well, okay. So tell everybody, we all need to sign the petition. We need to go from 10,000 to 100,000 signatures. I'm going to pester my friends. I don't have very many in Congress, but I will alert them to this bill, and we will be watching with bated breath to see what the Supreme Court does. How long do you think it will take before we know if the Supreme Court is going to consider this?
Well, this is an emergency petition, so this should not be very long. I'm hoping for a decision, honestly, within the next week. This is not something that should drag on for months, like a normal cert petition could drag on for months or even a year or more. This isn't like that. This is emergency, so I would expect it to be very, very soon. I encourage everyone to stay in touch with us. You can sign up for our email list so that you can subscribe and get updates. We're also on Twitter at WT Patriots USA and Facebook, We the Patriots USA. So we try to give our followers immediate, instant updates. As soon as we have word from the Supreme Court, we'll give those updates. And if anyone is able to support us, we are a nonprofit. So all of the legal work we do, Dr. Bowden, is 100% free of charge. We don't charge our clients a penny for any of these services. We rely exclusively on the generosity of our supporters.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Brian. And sorry for all the tech problems. We will be watching this case, and I will be updating everybody as soon as we know anything. So thanks so much for joining us. We're going to go to a break. And when we come back, we will talk to Brooke Jackson and Warner Mendenhall and their efforts to take down Pfizer. We'll see you after the break.
Articulate, we're so sorry about some of the tech difficulties that we've had today. It's been a little bit bumpy, but we have a great second half of the show coming up. The amazing Brooke Jackson and Warner Mendenhall. She is the girl with all of the receipts, the girl who is suing Pfizer for fraudulent clinical trials that she witnessed in the dark days of 2020. I also want to just give a ton of credit to Brian Festa. What a great interview. What an amazing organization. And I'll join Mary in helping them reach their goals with their petition and everything that they're trying to do. He's absolutely right. Idaho was the tip of the spear when it comes to medical freedom. Very good friend of Leslie Manukian, who was spearheading that effort, as well as Brian in Idaho. And so we want to support these bottom-up organizations as best we possibly can. So Brian, if you're still watching, I'd love to have you on my show as well to help you guys achieve your goals. So thank you so much, Mary, for that amazing, amazing interview. Now, before we get to the second half of the show and the interview with Brooke and Warner Mendenhall, I do want to say thank you to our amazing sponsors over at the Wellness Company. When Mary and I came together trying to figure out, how we're going to do this show, they were there for us with sponsorship that helped us to put this together and get it on the air. So we are super, super thankful for them. And they have a great new product. I don't know if you guys have ever been struggling, or if you are struggling with mood swings, low energy, or hormonal imbalances. Venus and Mars are two great new products from the Wellness Company. They're doctor-formulated nutraceuticals designed to restore balance, energy, and vitality without synthetic hormones or stimulants. Ladies, Venus supports estrogen and progesterone balance. It eases PMS and cramping while also boosting your energy with clinically dosed ingredients like DIM, maca, Vitex, and broccoli sprouts. There is no fluff and no filler in this product. Now, for the fellas, Mars has a product that naturally increases your testosterone, enhances circulation, and improves strength and focus with tongatali, tribulus, horny goat weed, and zinc. And every ingredient is present in a meaningful and safe dose. There are no gimmicks, just clean daily hormone support for both men and women. And I hear it also helps a little bit in the bedroom as well, but we won't go there. If you are a couple looking for a boost, Venus and Mars will have you feeling like you are on another planet. Head to twchealth.com/Mary and use the promo code MARY to get 10% off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Mary and use the promo code Mary, MARY, to get 10% off plus free shipping. Okay, back to the show, and we will continue with On Call with Dr. Mary Talley-Bowden.
Thanks, Shannon. And yes, thank you to the Wellness Company, because they are the ones that make this possible. They're helping pay for the production costs, and we're grateful to them for their support. We are now going to talk to Warner Mendenhall and Brooke Jackson about their epic takedown of Pfizer. They've been at this for 5 years now. Ed, are they ready to go? Are we good to go with Brooke and Warner? Great. I see Warner. Good to see you. Is Brooke joining? Warner, are you on mute? I can't hear you. Warner, are you there? I can see you. I can't hear you.
Are you talking to me, Mary?
I am. You're live.
Oh, okay.
We're on.
Okay. Good.
So tell us, your case has become so complicated, I really don't even know how to explain it anymore. So the floor is yours. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm going to uncomplicate it for you a bit. So, a lot of people talk about the EUA and some other issues, but fundamentally, Pfizer contracted for a safe and effective vaccine for COVID-19. That is far from what they delivered. On top of that, they were supposed to, and we can talk about this in a minute, they were supposed to deliver this drug following current good manufacturing practices. It's right in the contracts. And they didn't do that either. And we can go into that issue. But what happened in the process of litigating this case is the federal government decided that this case somehow was contrary to the public health policy of the United States. And it came in and asserted that under the Biden administration, and the judge dismissed it. So now it's on appeal. They had no good cause to dismiss Brooke Jackson's case, none whatsoever. They couldn't, there is a sort of a standard at DOJ in terms of when you would step in to dismiss one of these cases. They didn't meet any of those standards. They couldn't prove any good cause, but the judge went ahead and allowed the federal government to step in and dismiss the case and stop our litigation and stop our discovery against Pfizer just based on the federal government say so. We are still, and we were hopeful when the administration changed in January, that we would have a change in position within this administration. And certainly Bobby Kennedy knows all about the Pfizer fraud, and he is the client of the DOJ in this case. So we continue to appeal to Bobby and the administration to change a position on this case and let us do the work. We're willing to do the work for the American people to get the discovery and find out everything that Pfizer did. Is that simple?
It's frustrating. That sums it up well. But Brooke tweeted out something a few days ago that there was a glimmer of hope What was that about? What is going on? What's the latest?
Well, I mean, we're always looking for glimmers of hope, and I'm a hopeful person. We do, the appellate court, for one, the argument has been delayed. We don't necessarily have insight into that, but they've not scheduled oral argument. So while that is awaiting scheduling, we are continuing to work as hard as we can to get the word out. And thank you so much, by the way, because very few podcasters, especially with the national reach that you have talked to Brooke Jackson or talked to the attorney team on this case. And we are certainly shut out of mainstream media completely. There's no New York Times or Washington Post reporting whatsoever. I mean, we exist in this weird vacuum, like nobody wants to touch us, like it's a hot potato. And I guess it is because, we are seeing, and you've certainly testified eloquently about the numbers of injuries you're seeing and what the shot has done to people. The more they take, the more likely they are to be ill, the more likely they are to get COVID. This is really an utter failure in terms of a pharmaceutical. And I think that the American public is waking up to it. And I think once they realize the fraud that underlies what happened here, they're going to be angry. And I think that's partly why we've been suppressed to the extent that we have been.
So if you win, I'm just going to assume you are, what happens?
Well, a win would be fantastic in so many ways and for so many people, because, if there's fraud at the core of this project, then all of the immunities go away. Pfizer would be opened up for liability, and the liability at this point is tremendous. I mean, I think the liability, and I've said this before, is in the trillions of dollars, which obviously means Pfizer would no longer exist as a company. It would have to go bankrupt, sell off its assets to hopefully more honest pharmaceutical companies, and we would go from there. And that's what should happen. I was a little bit disturbed at the $70 billion that Pfizer is pledging to invest. It does seem to me like they're trying to buy kind of a safe harbor with this administration. Whether Pfizer invests 70 billion or not, they don't deserve a safe harbor on this. They deserve absolute scrutiny, and they deserve to be held accountable for what they've done in this process.
Well, and then, the ACIP meeting last week, I texted you about this, but you didn't respond.
Oh no, sorry.
It's okay. We'll talk about it now. So when they were talking about the DNA contamination, during the ACIP meeting, is that another legal avenue that could be pursued?
Well, it is absolutely a legal avenue. The DNA contamination, like I just said to you, the contract requires current good manufacturing practices. And part of that is to develop a safe product. And this product is far from safe. And I'm extremely concerned about that. And I don't think most people understand this. I know you do. But the process in the clinical trials, which was not good and resulted in injuries and deaths in the clinical trials, and in fact, more deaths in the quote unquote vaccine arm than in the placebo arm, that was a more pure product than what was foisted upon the world. What came out and was scaled up for manufacturing was something called Process 2. Process 1 was tested against 40,000 some people. Process 2 has virtually no testing. I think a couple of hundred people were tested against Process 2. And the problem with Process 2 is, first of all, it's new. Second of all, we have seen that the platform from which they pull the mRNA is based on E. coli. The E. coli itself is not completely stripped out of what is then encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle, and that's going into the body. So we are getting strands of DNA from E. coli along with the mRNA and we really don't know what the impact is going to be on somebody. And I'm no scientist, but obviously I've talked to Kevin McKernan about this a great deal. And, this issue of something called proteins. They're injecting unknown, new, unique proteins into people's bodies. And our cells and our bodies are reacting to those proteins in many, many different ways. And I kind of have rough numbers in my head. I wonder how this compares with what you see. 80% of the people who took the shots seem to be okay. I don't know long term, but for now they seem to be okay. 20% of what I see, somebody has some problem at least, and of those 20%, a quarter or 5% of the overall people have a serious problem, ranging from a cancer to death to whatever. But 5% have a serious problem going on. And that's where, you great doctors come into play. We got to figure out how to deal with these unique things we're seeing in people and happening to people. So process 2, I think people need to really focus on process 2 because it is really untested. It was a way to scale up manufacturing so they could make billions of these shots and sell billions of these shots and get them into people. But that is really, really new territory for all of us as a human race, frankly.
Right. I had Kevin McKernan on. Yeah. Well, Kevin McKernan came on last week and we talked about that process too. And it introduced SV40. And SV40 inhibits our tumor suppressor gene P53. And that is the theory behind why we're seeing an explosion in cancers. Right. So,
let's talk a little bit about why they used SV40. SV40 was intentionally put in there in the plasmid base because it actually causes the E. coli to grow rapidly. So it's a segment of SV40 that they put in there, and it makes things grow. Well, cancer is uncontrolled growth, so it almost makes sense logically, just from a common sense, non-scientific view. You don't want to mess around with SV40. It's triggering growth of cells. Well, maybe it's good cells, maybe it's bad cells, but it's triggering growth of cells. And I think that's a key to this. And then Kevin is very clear about the fact that they knew the SV40 segment was in there, and they hid that in the documents that they presented to the European Medicines Agency, to the FDA, to all the pharmaceutical regulators. So, hey, Brooke.
Yes. Hey, Brooke.
Hey, guys. Sorry, we have had technical difficulties today, apparently.
Yeah, there's a theme. That's a theme of today. Thank you so
much
for coming on.
Thank you for having us. I don't think your producer knew that this was going to be like a threesome. So.
Oh, okay.
I was in the background for a while.
I'm so sorry, but thank you for your patience.
It's kind of great to just sit back and listen to the conversation. I think you have some, vaccine mandate cases too. I was listening to Brian earlier and just looking on his Twitter feed because I'd love to help get that information out. I mean, there's so much, right? There's so much going on that I feel like we can help bring attention to.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that the effort of everyone out there, including We the Patriots and Freedom Council and the lawyers that have now really gotten to know each other and we're sharing information. I want people, I know a lot of times we're talking about this and we think, oh my gosh, it's hopeless. It's going to be hard to change, whatever. It is hard to change, but it's not hopeless. We've had tremendous success certainly along the religious liberty lines, and he's got that case going up to the Supreme Court. I expect him to be successful in that case. I really do. The courts and the federal judges have stepped up, and they've done a lot. They need to do a little more, and they need to really go after, the FDA and Pfizer and what happened there, and our captive regulatory agencies, which is obviously starting to change as well. So, and I'll tell you the other thing about the courts. They just think, one of our populations that's particularly at hazard are the healthcare workers and the healthcare students and the kids trying to get into healthcare, because for some reason, the courts have backed down in the military, they've backed down at employment and federal contracting, but they will not back down. And they're continuing to enforce mandates, not just COVID mandates, but flu mandates and other mandates for healthcare workers. And everyone deserves a choice in terms of what medications are being put in their body. So that's one of the things that's astounding to me, that healthcare workers are really on the chopping block right now, and the sacrificial lambs in terms of our public health policy. And I think, obviously, Mary, we need you guys. We don't want you to be the test subjects here of this experimental stuff.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't. So that's why. What did you think of Brian Festa's statements about changing the Title VII and making a change through Congress? Do you feel like that's the right way to go? How do we get to the point where we just can't require anybody to have something injected into their bodies no matter what?
Well, it's very interesting. If you go back to the founding of the country, Benjamin Rush, you can look this up on the web, I think. He said that healthcare was going to be the Achilles heel here and our rights. They knew that during revolutionary time periods. It's amazing the prescience that he had. So obviously, it has been an Achilles heel. Public health, supposed public health, has overridden individual liberties. And, this goes all the way back to the sterilization programs in California, in various states in the early part of the 20th century, the Buck v. Bell case, which is still good law. I mean, we literally said if you had a mental handicap, mental illness, criminal tendencies, we could sterilize you. And that was good law.
It's a sad case, Mary. If you haven't had an opportunity to read about Buck v. Bell, that's one that will just definitely encourage you to keep up what you're doing and keep up the fight.
And the other thing about Buck v. Bell, that one went to court, but thousands and thousands of people were sterilized. Latinas in California were sterilized. They didn't want them breeding. African Americans were sterilized. People who had various handicaps were sterilized. That was a purposeful governmental program to actually, I think they were trying to improve the race, believe it or not. And of course, we know what happened in Nazi Germany, but they literally specifically did that. Even some of our Supreme Court justices were on board, obviously, with improving the race.
That's crazy. What year was that?
I'm talking the early part of the 20th century. So the late part of the 19th century, the eugenics movement started to get its feet under it. And then it grew, and it grew at our most elite institutions: Stanford, University of California, Harvard, Yale. The eugenics movement was alive and kicking and doing very well in the early part of the 20th century. And then some of those cases are still in place, like Jacobson was one of the key cases that underlay Buck v. Bell, that underlay when we created concentration camps for the Japanese, the Korematsu decision. So
that's the other case I wanted you to recognize.
That's the other one.
There's those three cases that are just incredible. It's not, an opinion. It's not a vaccine war. It's documented. It's on the historical record, and people can just look it up. Just Google. Ask your Chat GPT or whatever your favorite AI, person is. Tell me about these cases. Tell me about vaccine cases. Tell me about the False Claims Act. It's right there. Fraud's in your face, documented. And it just is allowed to continue. That's what's so frustrating for me, especially with our case, Warner. This isn't a vaccines are good or a vaccines are bad. This is a question of whether or not we are going to allow fraud to determine the outcome of a biologic, whether or not it's approved or not. That's been so frustrating for me, because I didn't start out this case looking to discredit medicine in any way. I still believe in it today in research. I believe it is the future of medicine. but it has to be done correctly. And until these people are held accountable and responsible for what they've done, then there's no justice. Why do we even have laws, Warner? What's the purpose?
Well, you know me. Like I said, I'm an optimist. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep trying, and the courts have, to an extent, not perfectly, but to an extent, they have helped to uphold our civil rights. We need more.
Sure, but tell me the reason that we also have courts.
Well, I think I know what you're getting at. I mean, and actually, it's a really good point what Brooke is getting ready to have me say. You know, what the court system does that I don't think most people realize is it's a way to mediate violence in society. And the problem is, if people can't get justice, they're going to take justice into their own hands. And I think that's forgotten when we have laws like the PrEP Act that just strip us of our ability to go to court. You are actually creating a pathway that's going to cause more violence in society, as people can't find justice for their dead loved ones and their dead children. They're going to take it into their own hands. You know, why does Fauci have security? Because there are thousands and thousands of people very angry at him who cannot get justice in the courts. And we see that everywhere in our society. I mean, I see hospital security really getting beefed up. Why? Because you can't find justice against these hospitals. We just tried a case, in June that had a bad outcome in my view. And it's very difficult to get to court in the first place and then to find justice. And you have very, very frustrated parents and family members that they need to see a pathway to get justice for the deaths and injuries of their loved ones.
It is a festering wound, and wounds of this magnitude do not heal with time. They only get bigger. And we saw what happened at the CDC, where the very frustrated man, took a gun to the CDC because, like you said, we're not seeing any justice. We're everything's being swept under the rug. Yesterday was a huge slap in the face. Brooke, I'm curious on your reaction to what happened in the Oval Office yesterday.
Oh, oh gosh, Mary, that's a tough one, and I'm still like absorbing and letting it sink in. Actually, what I saw. Yeah, Warner, go ahead and let me think on this for a second. I want to be just very careful about what I say, especially with our, potential oral arguments coming up, Mary. I don't want to, ruffle the wrong feathers, but it's frustrating, when you see a man shake the hand of the person stole billions of dollars from American taxpayers for, a product that, again, Warner said, it was supposed to be safe and effective and prevent COVID-19, the infection of COVID-19. It does none of those things. So it makes me sad to watch that for the people that have been harmed. It really does.
Yeah, I was looking at Bobby Kennedy's face very closely during that, and he didn't look real happy with that whole scene. So I'm hoping that this move that I know some of our good federal employees in there want to see accountability. I'm hoping they'll continue to push for and move for accountability. The other thing, that obviously is true is really we can't count on anyone in federal government to save us. Not Bobby Kennedy, not President Trump, not anybody. We as a people need to understand what's happened to us, and we need to get loud. And we need to assert our power as a people and hold people like Bourla accountable for his actions. And I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, and I'll just
Exactly.
really, plainly, in my opinion, knowing what I'm sure Trump knows about what Pfizer has done. I mean, they're not new to criminal penalties, civil penalties. They're like I can't remember what Barnes calls it. Like they're equivalent to a high school marijuana dealer under the bleachers. When you look at the no, I don't remember whatever his phrase is that he says. It's really funny. He compares them to like the cartel, the Mexican cartel. But when you see President Trump shake the hands of Albert Bourla, to me, that doesn't scream leadership. It means that he's complicit in what Pfizer's doing. So I'll leave it at that.
To me, it's a deal with the devil. He made a deal with the devil. And
it's not
you're absolutely right.
It's not the first time. If you look back to the Merck case, Warner, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at that and just the history of that False Claims Act case with HIV drugs. They cut a deal, just this last year too. Trump was involved in 2017. He's involved again today. So, I mean, I hate it. I just hate it.
Well,
and that's a case people can look up. It's easy to look up. That's all I did. Something you said, Mary, actually triggered me looking at this case again. And I was at Simone Gold's event over the weekend and with Dr. Lynn Finn and a few others that we know. And it was the, what's the term? Shared medical responsibility, or like there's a phrase that you said the other day in one of your tweets, Mary. And so I started looking up that phrase, shared medical decision making or something. And then as you're looking through things, you just go down these rabbit holes and find things. And every time I open my computer and do that, I find something. It's not a medical opinion. It's not a medical journal article. It's actual court documents, that outline and the fraud. It's right in your face.
Yeah. Well, and we really just need to keep speaking out, get louder. I've given up on the executive branch. The legislative branch, I mean, there were 7 states that tried to ban mRNA. Only 1 state even got a hearing out of that. So, I mean, that's sort of a lost cause. So, Warner, it's up to you.
Well,
our fate rests in your hands. And we just need to get the word out, and we need to pressure. Everybody needs to tag Pam Bondi and ask her to get out of the way so this case can move forward. And I'm very grateful to both of you for continuing this fight for 5 years now. And we will just keep plugging along. And thank y'all for coming on and bearing with the tech problems, but we will have you on soon, hopefully with continued good news. You've done an amazing job keeping this case alive, and we wish you all the best. You can go to Warner as, like I said earlier, Freedom Council, and that's FreedomCouncil, freedomcouncil.org.
Yep.
They could really use your support. And you can follow Brooke. I am Brooke Jackson. That's her website. She also is a great follow on X. She's spicy and she's a fighter. And
if you keep that fire lit for me, Mary, I mean,
I think
what
we
you've
trigger
done
each other. Anything else? Anything that people can do to help? Any final thoughts, Warner and Brooke?
Well, I do want to point out that Brooke's website has all her documents on it. So if you are curious as a person as to what's going on, read our response to their motion to dismiss. Read what the government submitted and how really incoherent the government's submission last year was, asking for the case to be dismissed. And that'll help to understand this. I think. And the documents, I think, are even up there as exhibits to the complaint. The contract that they sign that says it has to be safe, effective vaccine. The contract that shows, again, that this is a military project, not a public health project. It's a countermeasure for military readiness. It says it right in there. So, you say that to people and they think you're crazy. Like, this is public health. No, it isn't. It's military. It's countermeasure, but they had requirements nevertheless to have a safe and effective product for us, and that is not what we got. And we are not military, by the way. I'm a private citizen.
For every
Right.
man, woman, and child to be ready has to get this injection. It's just incredible. But like Werner said, it's right there. I do also encourage people to research as much as they can, read as much as they can. Mary, I can't wait for your book, by the way. I just sent Warner my list of books that I'm reading now, and I still haven't finished one that I'm reading now, but I love the title, and it's Siri's book, Aaron Siri's book, and it's titled Vaccines, Amen. Like, how perfect is that title? Perfect title.
It's a religion.
I'm excited. Right? It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it, I just, man, I'm not done. I'm going to keep fighting. I encourage everybody to do the same. Find, what your passion is. Mine is helping people. Who am I to not give people my time, my ear? So, just listening is something that I do. And maybe being a little bit spicy on Twitter too. I guess it's kind of like my journal in a way, just getting the information out on subjects that are important to me.
Well, thank y'all again, and we look forward to more good news, I hope. When do you think we'll hear any update? I mean, this has been dragging on so long. How long?
They asked us,
Next step?
it's interesting, they asked us for paper copies of our filings. You file electronically in the federal courts generally, but they recently asked for paper copies. I don't know why, but they're going to have those. I'm hoping that means somebody's going to read those paper copies, and that we'll get an oral argument scheduled, and people should watch for that. It'll be public. You can listen to the oral argument. You can, and hopefully by then the federal government's changed its position. If it is not, you're going to see how inconsistent and incoherent the federal position is. So I think they need to get some consistency and coherence. I hope for that. I pray for that, and we'll see.
Where will those oral arguments be if they occur?
They're going to be they'll be in New Orleans at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals there. People who are local, it's a public court. You can go and actually see the arguments and meet Brooke and meet some of her attorneys. And but otherwise, it'll also be streamed online so people can listen to it. So maybe we can get it streamed on Twitter or something so people can hear the argument as it's taking place.
It is incredible, right?
Yeah.
But you have 15 minutes, Werner. They have 15 minutes, right?
Right. You only have 15 minutes to make the oral argument. I mean, the papers in the case are obviously hundreds and hundreds of pages, but you have 15 minutes. You've got to make it count. And we initially put up a 10-minute argument. They get to rebut it 15 minutes, and then we come in and do a reply at the end for 5 minutes.
And hopefully we get that opportunity. There is something to be said about being in a courtroom, sitting across the table from these guys. I've been able to do it a couple of times, but the Department of Justice has asked the Fifth Circuit to deny us that opportunity, and it just be, I guess, a decision made based on our briefs. So I don't think that's fair. I don't like it. I want to be in there. I want to be able to represent the American people and be able to sit across and look at Pfizer or the DOJ, really, and have that moment.
Yeah, I was there in Beaumont, and that was interesting. It's seeing all the battalion of lawyers on Pfizer's side versus Warner and Robert Barnes. It was, I thought y'all did an amazing job, and I'm definitely going to New Orleans.
Let's not forget Jeremy Friedman and Lexus was there too. We actually had four. We had four attorneys present in Beaumont, Texas. I think Bob and I probably talked most of the time. But, Alexis Anderson and Jeremy Friedman are part of our team. They've been an integral part of it. And Jeremy had some great things to say. He popped up at at that hearing to make sure that some things were covered that I think he thought I had missed. So we really appreciate all the lawyers that have given us help on.
He had to throw in that baseball analogy there at the end, but I thought it was incredible when the judge asked Pfizer directly about whether, what would happen if the FDA gets it wrong? Are we just supposed to live with that? That was a question that the judge asked directly of Pfizer, and Pfizer's response was exactly. So that says a lot too,
There seems to be little oversight from the FDA based on what came out at that ACIP meeting. Well, I'm going to let y'all go, and we'll keep in touch, and good luck. Thank you for fighting. You've done an amazing job. And like I said, it all rests on your shoulders. No pressure. But I am optimistic.
Yeah, thank you.
We're prisoners of hope. What do we say?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Y'all take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
All right.
And that's it for today. We will see you back next Wednesday. Remember, at 12 o'clock, I overlap with Shannon Joy, and then from 12:30 to 1:30, and I'm speaking Central Time Zone because I'm in Texas. Then we will talk to guests and talk to the chat. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.